Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari signs executive order establishing Presidential Transition Council. NPC to hold census in Sambisa Forest. Plus, death toll from Turkey-Syria quakes tops 19,000 as aid struggles to reach victims. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed an executive order on the facilitation and management of presidential transitions. Buhari said it would enhance the seamless transition of power from one presidential administration to another. This was disclosed in a statement via his verified Twitter handle today. The president also revealed he has approved the establishment of a Presidential Transition Council, which would be chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved 67 new broadcast licenses. This brings the total number of approved broadcast licenses by Buhari to 473, with the number of functional broadcast stations in Nigeria rising to 740. The Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, Balarabe Leila, disclosed this today at a briefing in Abuja. Leila also said that the monitoring of broadcast stations was on. Away from that, now the federal government says it is studying ruling by the Supreme Court that halted temporarily the move by the federal government and Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to phase out the old 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes from February 10. Special advisor to the Attorney General of the Federation (AGF), Jibrin Umar Gwandu, and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami stated that the federal government is studying the ruling and will take necessary steps within the context of the rule of law before the 15th day of February 2023, when the matter is adjourned for hearing. And while the federal government says it has no funds to finance the establishment of another agency or agencies in Nigeria, as the ones already in existence were already too many. It disclosed this in Abuja, the ministry's departments and agencies' consultation session to review the proposed draft of the Creative Industries Development Bill. The Director General, Budget Office of the Federation, Ben Akabweze, said the Nigeria Creative Industries Development Bill 2023 seeks to establish a Creative Industries Development Commission and provide an enabling environment for the creative industries in Nigeria and other related matters. Akabweze noted that while the government continues to support the creative industries, it will not support the creation of additional agencies because it lacked funds for such. He observed that there were two key parts of the proposed bill, as the first had to do with the establishment of the commission, while the second was on the provision of an enabling environment. In the meantime, now, the federal government, through the agency of the Nigeria Customs Service, has said that the Benin Republic trade policy is hostile to Nigerian traders. The Customs Area Controller in charge of SEME Command, Dera Nadi, said this at the command headquarters. Nadi blamed the Benin Republic trade policy for the dearth of imports through the command, noting that the command has recorded 5 import declarations with a total duty paid value of 13 million naira paid in 10 days. According to him, within the period under review, 122 trucks carrying 3.77 metric tons of made-in-Nigeria products were exported. Elsewhere, federal government says it will commence the implementation of its bottom-up cash planning initiative tomorrow. The acting accountant general of the Federation AGF, Sylvia Okoliabo, disclosed this at a just concluded sensitization program in Abuja. He said that the initiative was being adopted as one of the best strategies to address cash management challenges of the federal government and as part of its public financial management reforms. Moving on now to the judiciary, where a federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt has restrained the Rivers State governor from arresting any opposing member of the People's Democratic Party in the state. Justice A.T. Ibrahim issued the order against the police and Department of State Services following a motion ex parte filed by some members of the PDP in the state. Justice Ibrahim ordered the Rivers State government and other respondents to maintain the status quo until the determination of the suit. The appellants in the suit are former national chairman of the PDP, Uche Secondus, Senator Lee Maiba, B.S. Hakibo, George Sekibo, Celestine Omehia, Austin Opera, among others. Away from that now, the International Monetary Fund IMF has urged the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN to go beyond recent increases in the policy rate to implement additional actions, including sterilizing the apex bank's financing of fiscal deficits under its Ways and Means window, as well as phasing out other credit intervention programs. The multilateral lender also called on the Nigerian authorities to expedite action in finalizing the moves to securitize the 22.7 trillion naira overdrafts extended by the CBN to the federal government to finance annual fiscal deficits. In a statement, the IMF stated that strengthening the CBN's independence and establishing price stability as its primary objective is critical. According to the IMF, Nigeria's economy has recouped the output losses sustained during the COVID-19 pandemic, supported by favorable oil prices and buoyant consumption activities. Away from that now, a few weeks to the general elections, the United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator Matthias Schmale has expressed worry over lingering fuel scarcity and the new Naira policy. This was contained in a statement made available to newsmen today. Schmale, who noted that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is doing its best in ensuring free, fair and credible elections, said that INEC was facing some challenges, for instance, around logistics, power supply, employment and deployment of the right personnel at the right time. The diplomat restated the UN commitment to supporting Nigeria in ensuring peaceful, credible and inclusive elections. In education, the regulatory agency for universities in Nigeria, the National Universities Commission, NUC, has ordered the closure of universities across the country to enable students participate in the 2023 general elections. In a letter addressed to vice-chancellors of all universities and directors of inter-university centers, the NUC noted that the directive was based on the directive of the Minister of Education, Adamu. Still in education now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, says it has cancelled the registrations of 817 candidates in the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. The registrar of JAM, Isha Koloyede, who made this known after separate meetings with stakeholders, said the registrations were invalidated over identified infractions bordering on the use of strange biometric fingerprints in the registration process. Oloyede said that some registration officers in the affected 178 computer-based test CBT centers added one of their fingerprints to complete the registration process for the candidates. He noted that the 817 students will be given another opportunity to re-register for the examination, with the centers bearing the cost. Meanwhile, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund (TED Fund) has constituted the National Contact Point (NCP) to serve as a channel for information dissemination on opportunities as part of its mandate on research and innovation. Executive Secretary of TED Fund Sunny Achono disclosed this at the presentation of the Nigerian Contact Network Program for 2023-2024 in Abuja. Achono emphasized that the process was initiated to ensure researchers from the country effectively utilize the EU Research and Innovation Framework Program, notably the Horizon Europe, to foster innovation. He said that as an intervention agency for public tertiary institutions in Nigeria, TED Fund has the mandate to facilitate the institutionalization of research and development in tertiary institutions to support development. In a separate matter, National Population Commission Chairman Nasiru Isa Kwara has disclosed that census will hold in Sambisa Forest. He said despite the security challenges, the Commission would ensure people in the area are counted. Kwara announced this at the inauguration of the Population and Housing National Census Publicity Committee in Abuja. Away from that, now the head of the Niger State Operations Office of the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) in Mina, Zainab Saidu, has underscored the need to adopt proactive measures by relevant stakeholders to forestall violence and unrest during the forthcoming elections in the state and the nation as a whole. Saidu, who stated this today, said only proactive as well as preventive measures would ensure a peaceful and orderly electoral process. She explained that it was for this reason that the agency is calling on all political actors, community leaders, and citizens to exercise their franchise peacefully and refrain from any form of violence or intimidation during the electioneering period. To more electoral matters now, where Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has met with Vice-Chancellors of federal universities ahead of the 2023 general elections. The INEC boss insisted that the 2023 general elections will hold as scheduled. Yakubu gave this assurance in a meeting with Vice-Chancellors of the federal universities today. He urged the Vice-Chancellors to do enough checks to avoid enlisting staff affiliated with political parties and history of partisanship politics before forwarding their names to the Commission. The INEC boss also assured it will embark on its own investigation of names forwarded by the universities for the purpose of the election. In a related development, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it is probing the circumstances surrounding its verified Twitter account, like in a post criticizing the presidential candidate of the Labour Party (LP) Peter Obi. The electoral umpire also said it will take appropriate disciplinary actions if an infraction is established after investigation. You could recall that on Wednesday, INEC's verified account on the microblogging site liked a post in which the son of Fela Anikulapo Kuti, Seun Kuti, censured Obi. Many Twitter users exonerated the commission for being sentimental and subsequently unliked the post and issued a statement assuring Nigerians of its neutrality, stating that it will conduct. Deputy Governor of Sokoto State Muhammad Iya has handed in his resignation from the People's Democratic Party (PDP) leadership. Iya's resignation. He said that he appreciated the opportunities given to him to serve in various capacities under the PDP. In a related development, no fewer than 11 commissioners in Sokoto State have dumped the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC. The development followed an announcement by the state Deputy Governor Mane Iya resigning his membership in the main opposition party. According to reports, Mohammed made the disclosure in a letter directed to the PDP ward chairman of the Kware ward, Kware local government area of the state. Still in politics, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Taraba State has suffered a great loss, with 11 commissioners defecting to the main opposition party in the state, the All Progressives Congress (APC). The defection of the 11 commissioners from the ruling party in the state is coming a few hours to the rally of the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, and his running mate Kashim Shettima in the state. Reports say the defectors are expected to be received into APC by President Muhammadu Buhari at the rally, as the defection came less than 16 days before the presidential election. The source alleged that Deputy Governor Mane Daniya has also defected to APC, a fact which has been debunked by his Director of Press, Aminu Abubakar, who called on members of the PDP in the state, especially Daniya's supporters, to disregard the letter in circulation purporting his defection, describing it as the imagination of opponents who are doing their best to achieve selfish interests. In the meantime, the National Security Advisor, NSA, Babagana Monguno, says Naira's custody and the cashless policy will affect military personnel deployed to remote places. Monguno stated this today at a hearing organized by an ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives looking into currency redesign and Naira swap policy. The NSA, who was represented by A.A. Mustafa, a director in the Office of National Security Advisor, said there is an ongoing effort to address the challenge. More on security matters. The Ogun State Police Command has revealed that all suspects involved in the New Year's Eve murder of a former Central Bank of Nigeria official Kehinde Fatinoye, his wife and son, have been arrested. The State Police Public Relations Officer Oyeyemi Bola made this known in a brief statement on Twitter. Recall that the tragedy struck in the Ibara area of Abeokuta, Ogun State on New Year's Eve, when Kehinde and his wife Bukola were murdered and burnt beyond recognition in their residence in Abeokuta. In the meantime, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has warned the public to be wary of a fake EFCC recruitment notice circulating on social media. The Commission also disclosed that the application portal associated with the said recruitment notice is fake and the handiwork of some dubious persons. This was disclosed in a statement issued via the Commission's verified Twitter handle today, which urged members of the public to disregard the information and refrain from action or acting on it. Elsewhere, an officer of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Niger State Command, Anthony Damisa, was arraigned by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) for alleged forgery and making a false statement. Damisa was docked before Justice M.E. Anene of the Federal Capital Territory High Court 3, sitting in Maitama, Abuja, Nigeria's capital. A spokesperson for the ICPC, Azuka Ogugwa, revealed this today in a statement obtained by Newsman. ICPC, in the charge filed before the trial court, is alleging that the accused person used a forged Bachelor of Science degree in Public Administration from Enugu State University of Science and Technology, as well as a forged National Diploma Certificate in General Agriculture from the College of Agriculture, Yandev, Benue State, to seek higher placement in the NSCDC. Back here now, the Akwa Ibom State Governor Demi Manuel has inaugurated the State Drug Control Committee (SDCC) in the state with the aim of intensifying awareness for drug prevention and to also support the framework for all drug reduction activities in the state. Speaking during the inauguration ceremony held at the State ESCO Chambers Government House, Uyo, Governor Manuel said controlling the circulation of illicit drugs and consumption was necessary in view of the increasing number of youths going into drugs and in order to curb the level of social vices carried out through the influence of drugs. It charged the committee, led by the wife of the governor, Dr. Martha Udomi-Manio, to channel the same passion and commitment in the fight against rape and child abuse towards the fight against drug abuse. In an interview with journalists, the chairperson of the committee, Dr. Martha Udomi-Manio, said the committee is committed to the mandate given to them and will identify all the addicts in order to counsel and rehabilitate them, while ensuring that the defiant are made to face the full wrath of the law. Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that the committee is made up of 13 persons drawn from various ministries and parastatal, including the state commandant of the NDLEA, Obot Bassi. Still to come in the news. U.S. initial job claims top estimates. Do stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian, from issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Great, thanks for staying tuned as we head on now to Africa, where a high court in Malawi has rejected a bid by the government to uphold the suspension of head of the Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB, Martha Chizuma. Chizuma was interdicted on grounds that she was facing criminal charges of allegedly defaming some high-ranking government officials. According to reports, she accused some top officials in government and courts of frustrating the fight against corruption. Still in Africa, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has met Sudan's military rulers and urged the country to solve its political challenges internally without what he termed as attempts to teach the Sudanese how to do things. The country has been in political turmoil since the generals ousted Western-backed civilian leaders of the transitional governments in October 2021. Russia and Sudan have also been in talks about opening a naval base in Sudan by the Red Sea. According to reports, Lavrov has said the plan is now awaiting ratification, but that Sudan is currently embroiled in a prolonged political crisis. Meanwhile, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has accused his Congolese counterpart Felix Tshisekedi of dishonoring several agreements on addressing the conflicts in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Tensions between the African Great Lakes region neighbors continue to rise as DR Congo accuses Rwanda of invading its territory disguised in M23 rebels. In an address to diplomats in Rwanda, Kagame criticized Tshisekedi for failing to address Congo's internal issue and putting the blame on Rwanda. Meanwhile, Kinshasa has not reacted to Kagame's remarks. Elsewhere, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki has dismissed reports of alleged war crimes committed by his troops during the conflict in northern Ethiopia. In rare comments about the war, which began in November 2020, President Isaias said the claims were part of a disinformation campaign by detractors of the peace deal reached between the government in Ethiopia and Tigrayan forces for a permanent ceasefire in the country's civil war. He also declined to answer questions regarding when Eritrean troops will fully leave the Tigray region on a succession plan in his country. And while rights groups allege Eritrean soldiers have committed atrocities in northern Ethiopia, which include killing unarmed civilians, raping women, and the widespread looting of public and private property. Away from that, an Algerian court has sentenced the brother of the former president Abdelaziz Bouteflika to 12 years in jail for corruption. Said Bouteflika, who was his brother's advisor, was also fined nearly $60,000. Reports say several top Algerian businessmen were convicted with him and also given long prison terms. Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who was accused of fostering corruption over his 20-year rule, was forced to resign as president in 2019 following a wave of pro-democracy protests. He died 2 years later. Meanwhile, the non-governmental organization Doctors Without Borders (MSF) have suspended activities in the Mohon region in northwestern Burkina Faso following the killing of 2 of its employees. Reports say armed assailants opened fire on an MSF vehicle and killed 2 of its occupants. MSF President Isabel Defoni condemned the attack, saying they are going to have to hold urgent talks with all the parties in the conflict to understand what has happened. Meanwhile, the security situation in Burkina Faso has become increasingly volatile, with armed militants regularly attacking both civilians and security forces. On a foreign scene now, Turkey's disaster management agency said the death toll from the catastrophic earthquakes that hit Turkey and Syria rose to more than 19,000 today, as more bodies were pulled from the rubble of collapsed homes in the stricken zone. According to reports, the death toll in Turkey has risen to more than 19,000 in Turkey and Syria. Turkish officials said 16,170 people had died in Turkey. Officials and medics also added that 3,162 died in Syria, bringing the confirmed total to 19,332. Still on the foreign scene now, experts today say that Ukraine's urgent request for Western warplanes to boost its war capabilities against Russia poses a host of challenges that make an early delivery of such aircraft unlikely. It could be recalled that President Volodymyr Zelensky called on allies Wednesday to provide his country with air power to combat the Russian invasion in an historic address to the British Parliament. He made the same demand in Paris, where he met President Emmanuel Macron later in the day. According to experts, modern fighter jets would give Ukraine an unprecedented ability to strike behind Russian lines and to make it harder for Russian bombers to target Ukrainian territory with the current degree of impunity. Meanwhile, Chile has announced a nighttime curfew in regions where forest fires have been blazing for more than a week, leaving at least 24 people dead. According to the military chief for Biobío, Rear Admiral George Quieto, the curfew will come into effect on Friday and last from midnight until 5 a.m. in at least 20 municipalities in the central regions of Biobío and La Araucanía. The move is aimed at preventing thefts and looting in the affected regions. Meanwhile, the military chief for La Araucanía, General Ruben Castillo, said the curfew implied restrictions to public transport, especially in Malleco province. Recall that Chile President Gabriel Boric had said on Wednesday he would impose a nighttime curfew in the 3 regions where a state of disaster has been declared due to the fires: Biobío, La Araucanía, and Noble. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blyden Okan.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is another business day, and my name is Blyden Ukem. In the news, we begin with U.S. economy, as initial job claims tops estimates. The number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits rose to 196,000 in the week ending February 4th, recovering from the previous week 9-month low of 183,000 and above expectations of 190,000. Still, the figure remains historically low, as many companies are struggling to find employees despite recently announced layoffs in the tech sector. Brazil's economic data. Inflation rate near 2-year low. Brazil's consumer price inflation rate stood at 5.77% year-on-year in January 2023, little change from 5.79% in the previous month, and slightly below market consensus of 5.8%. In Brazil, the inflation rate measures a broad rise or fall in the prices that consumers pay for a standard basket of goods. It was also the lowest rate since February 2021, helped by a stronger Brazilian real, although it remained well above the central bank's 1.75 to 4.75% target range. Inflation slowed for both food and beverages in December and healthcare, while transport prices continued to fall. On the other hand, housing inflation accelerated to 0.25% from 0.07%. On a monthly basis, consumer prices advanced 0.53% in January, easing from a 0.63% rise in December. Looking at Naira scarcity. Instant payment hits 38 trillion Naira in January. The Naira scarcity caused by the Central Bank of Nigeria's Naira redesign and cash withdrawal policy pushed instant electronic payments to 38.77 trillion Naira in January 2023, a 45.52% year-on-year increase from 26.65 trillion Naira as of January 2022, according to data from the Nigeria's interbank settlement system. In 2022, the CBN announced a Naira redesigned policy and withdrawal limits, as well as encouraged Nigerians to adopt electronic forms of transactions such as internet banking, mobile banking, USSD, cards and POS, e-Naira, etc. The CBN placed the maximum weekly limit for cash withdrawals across all channels by individuals and corporate organizations at 500,000 Naira and 5 million Naira respectively. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the benchmark All-Share Index pared 67.15 basis points to close at 54,359.9 points. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 49% improvement in volume, 74% improvement in turnover, and 12% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 29.6 trillion Naira in aggregates. 118 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 16 gainers and 17 losers. Northern Nigeria flour mills led the gainers with 9.74% share price appreciation, closing at 10 Naira 70 kobo per share. On the losing side, GlaxoSmithKline Consumer came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 7.91% at 6 Naira 40 kobo per share. Universal Insurance Company recorded the highest volume of 71.8 million traded shares. This is all on business news. And back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Biden. Now still to come in the news. IOC says Ukraine should drop threat of boycott of Paris 2024 Olympics. Thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) has declared a state of emergency on bleaching after establishing that Nigeria today has been ranked first in cases of bleaching. The Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojishola Adeyeye, raised the alarm on the menace of bleaching creams in Nigeria, saying the problem has become a national emergency that calls for serious attention. She stated this while flagging off a media sensitization workshop on dangers of bleaching creams and regulatory control organized by the Association of Nigerian Health Journalists in Kano. She added that 77% of those engaged in bleaching in Nigeria are women, saying it calls for a multifaceted approach in fighting the menace of bleaching creams, which she warned have fatal health hazards. Still in health now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention says it has inaugurated its first ever zonal reference laboratory in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital. The information is in a statement signed by the NCDC Director General Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa in Abuja. He stated that the laboratory was built in collaboration with the Ekiti state government with funding from the World Bank's Pandemic Emergency Financing Facility through the Nigeria COVID-19 Preparedness and Response Project. He added that the project was aimed at strengthening the country's diagnostic capacity. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Thank you very much, Xavier Roberts. Well, in sports, the International Olympic Committee has urged Ukraine to drop threat of boycotting Paris 2024 if Russian and Belarusian athletes compete. The IOC president, Thomas Bach, has told Ukraine's Olympic Committee that such threats are extremely regrettable. Ukraine is hoping to gain international support for a ban on athletes from the two countries over Russia's invasion. The IOC has said it will explore a pathway for Russian and Belarusian athletes to compete as neutrals. Ukraine's sports minister Vadim Gutset, who is also president of its Olympic Committee, responded by saying the country could boycott the Paris Games, with several other European nations since also calling for the ban to be upheld. Well, in basketball, Zion Williamson will miss the All-Star game due to a hamstring injury that has kept the New Orleans Pelicans forward out for over a month. Williamson has not played since doing damage when facing the Philadelphia 76ers on the 2nd of January. The 22-year-old would also miss the Pelicans' next 3 games and would not be ready for the All-Star game at the Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City on 19th of February. Williams' fitness will be assessed after the All-Star break. Williamson had been due to feature with LeBron James, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, and Nikola Jokic on Team LeBron. The Pelicans are on a record of 29 wins and 27 losses in the Western Conference, sitting 7th following 3 consecutive wins. Williams' continued absence is a big blow for the New Orleans Pelicans, as he has averaged 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 4.6 assists in 29 games this season. We're coming back home to talk about the national teams. Nigeria's Under-20 Eagles head coach Ladan Boso has released a list of 25 players that would leave the country today to Morocco, where the team would finalize preparations for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. The Under-20 African Flying Eagles have been camping in Abuja and will continue preparations in Morocco ahead of the 2023 Under-20 Nations Cup in Egypt. While in Morocco, Nigeria will play 2 friendly games before the Ladan Boso-led technical crew will announce the final list for Egypt. The Flying Eagles will leave Nigeria en route to Morocco today, Thursday, February 19th, 2023. Nigeria will face Senegal in their first match of the CAF organized on the 20 tournament on the 19th of February. Host nation Egypt and Mozambique are the other teams the Flying Eagles could face in Group A of the competition. Well, that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Over to you, Xavier.
Many thanks, Isaac. And now on entertainment news, legendary American pop composer, songwriter, and pianist Burt Bacharach, whose prolific output provided a chart-topping playlist for the 1960s and 1970s with hits like I Say a Little Prayer, has died in Los Angeles at the age of 94. Bacharach worked with a constellation of stars during his decades-long career, from Dionne Warwick and Aretha Franklin to Dusty Springfield and Tom Jones to Elvis Costello and the White Stripes. Bacharach, who died of natural causes, was known for romantic and melancholic ballads that blurred the line between jazz and pop, and regularly topped the charts on both sides of the Atlantic. He earned a flurry of accolades, including 3 Oscars for the score of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 8 Grammy Awards including a Lifetime Achievement Prize, 2 Golden Globes, and induction in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Still on entertainment news, Jay-Z and Nicki Minaj have been ranked by Billboard as the best male and female rappers of all time. The publication released its top 50 greatest rappers of all time in honor of hip-hop's 50th anniversary. And while Nicki came in at number 10, officially making her the only female in the top 10 list and therefore the greatest female rapper of all time. Rapping legends such as Tupac, Eminem, the Notorious B.I.G., Snoop Dogg, and Nas also made it into the top 10. Billboard claimed that Nicki, aged 40, who hails from South Jamaica, has earned her crown as the modern-day queen of rap with her fierce spirit. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, Rihanna fans are eagerly anticipating her performance at the Super Bowl halftime show, one of the biggest in music. The American singer will perform during the break when the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Rihanna has not toured or released an album since 2016's Auntie. The star has instead focused on her fashion brand. Fans hope that the 34-year-old's Super Bowl performance will signal a bigger musical comeback later this year. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a good night rest. Bye for now.